beautiful.
How are you surviving? You look nice and tan.
Thank you. Sorry to.
All
I'm just
good.
curious about.
I'm taking Jane's name tag.
Okay. Perfect. I don't know where he is. I'm trying to be surprising. And I'm going to start whenever. Thanks for being on. What's up, guys? So Dr. Vogelstein's gift.
Okay. Okay. I know you're not, so I'll grab it for you. Okay. Where am I sitting?
You are. All right. Okay. Ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
You can yell at everybody.
Okay.
Hang on. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to play a sizzle reel.
Okay.
So I'll play like some music and it'll tell everyone to shut up.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to this year's Johns Hopkins Reunion Symposium. It's a true pleasure to see so many alumni, faculty, staff, students, and friends here. My name is Peter Baeff, and I have the distinct pleasure and honor of serving as the president of the Johns Hopkins Medicine Alumni Association. In this role, I'm continually inspired by the collaborative energy and the impactful work that defines Johns Hopkins Medicine. Our Alumni Association plays a vital role in supporting the School of Medicine through initiatives like providing essential stethoscopes, white coats to our students, funding innovative student and trainee-led projects, offering financial support to various students and trainee groups, and contributing to the crucial Student Emergency Fund. Excuse me. Of course, we are also thrilled to organize events like this Reunion and Alumni Weekend. We are absolutely delighted to have you with us. Over the next few days, you can look forward to a rich program filled with opportunities to reconnect with cherished friends, delve into the groundbreaking research emerging from our School of Medicine, and celebrate the remarkable contribution of Johns Hopkins Medicine. Today, we have the distinct privilege of hearing from the insightful Dr. Roy Vogelstein, followed by what I'm sure will be an inspiring talk from my friend and classmate, the esteemed Dr. Bert Vogelstein. I am truly excited about the future of Johns Hopkins Medicine, and with the ongoing dedication and support of our alumni, I am confident that we can achieve even greater goals together. Now it is my pleasure to introduce a distinguished leader who embodies the excellence of our institution. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ted DeWeese, the Francis Watt Baker, MD, and Lennox D. Baker, MD, Dean of the Medical Faculty and CEO of Johns Hopkins Medicine.
Peter, thank you very much. You know, it's very tragic. I'm dressed exactly like I am in that picture today. Okay, that's embarrassing on so many levels, actually, at this minute. Wow, okay. Maybe I should just sit down. Maybe that would be better. Before I start, I would love to just recognize Peter for your great leadership in this role that you've had as president of the Alumni Association and your long, distinguished tenure with the association, all you've done for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking him. And good afternoon to everyone. This is always such a fun time, at least for me, and certainly in the life of the institution. This alumni reunion is an important calendar marker for all of us. And I hope you're being able to find your old friends, maybe make some new friends. And I hope you're also feeling that the spirit and the real core value structure of Johns Hopkins that you all knew when you were here, I hope you're going to notice that it is still here. It is being pursued each and every day. And while the buildings have changed and more going up, and I'm sure you're really all upset that Reed Hall is no longer standing, and the cockroaches that inhabited it are gone. And there's a lot of new technologies. Of course, curriculum that Roy and others have developed for medical students has changed, but that core value structure and the who and what we are has not. And from my lens, it's worth just restating that. This is an institution that has, I think, a very clear North Star, which is to do work that improves the human condition. We do that through outstanding discovery work, research, that is exactly pushed towards trying to improve human health into the clinic. If we're doing contemporary research that drives to the clinic, then we're providing the most contemporary patient care, and those serve as the foundational elements of training the next leaders in medicine and biomedicine. And that is still who it is we are and what it is that we do. Now, needless to say, this is a challenging time in our world generally, United States specifically, and some of the issues confronting universities and certainly academic medicine. And I do not want to dwell on all of that today, except to say that, yes, it is challenging, but it means that we just have to keep our heads up. Keep our focus, keep our focus towards the things that we do, because the risk is losing the pipeline of people that have made this place great for a long time. Society needs Johns Hopkins. I'll come back to that in a minute, but society does. So yes, we are at real pressures right now for millions and millions of dollars of lost grant revenue. I was telling Bert right before we got here, I was just in a meeting moments ago before coming here with the trustees around the amount of grant issues that we're having right now, the slowdown, not just in the number of cancellations, but the slowdown of those awards, which is causing a real substantive issue in our ability to function. So that's true. The risks to Medicaid, and you've seen those large cuts on the order of $700+ billion over 10 years. That will have significant implications. This other thing, fortunately, hopefully you don't have to think about it too much, so-called 340B, which is just discount drug pricing. It'll cost Johns Hopkins, if it goes into effect the way they're predicting, in the over $300 million per year. So the totality of the headwinds are substantial, but I just want to reinforce that the points that I made at the beginning, I think will be the sustaining ones at the end. Bert said he has some optimism around it. I actually do too, and I don't think it's completely misplaced when we have spent a great deal of time, Ron Daniels, me, our teams, of course solidifying those things that you would expect us to do with our elected officials, those relationships. With our other partners in other portions of the government and industry, yes, we've been doing those things. But I think both Ron and I, again, separately and together, have spent even more time crafting what I've called, new non-traditional allies, folks in various portions of finance and the business sector who historically have viewed government life a little bit differently than we have, but who absolutely do understand and value what it means to do research, why that is such an important economic engine, important piece to the defense of our country, and what it means to the health of the nation. And so driving those new relationships, I think, has provided us some great green shoots coming out of the ground where we can see the benefits of that in folks with whom we are speaking. So I just want to emphasize, while it sounds like it's all budget all the time, every day, and in many ways it feels like that, it is not. It's about vision and it's about leadership, and that's what Johns Hopkins has done and will always continue to do. So I just want to make sure you reinforce that. Today, for example, happens to be the 50th anniversary this year of, I think, still the most stellar MSTP program in the United States, Medical Science Training Program, here at Hopkins. So there is something we continue to push forward on hard. The research enterprise, and I think Bert will be sharing some of what he and his team have done, but there are plenty of places going on, new RNA, DNA small molecules that are now, for example, in the world that I have historically inhabited in prostate cancer. Those are the things. It is owned by Johns Hopkins, effectively, that every man essentially with newly diagnosed and metastatic prostate cancer gets that test. And it is driving not just the revenue side, which is wonderful, but the impact in how it modifies care is real and tangible. Our medical students, many of you heard, we've worked really very hard, and I want to give a very important a shout out to my dear colleague, Roy Vogelstein, who worked very hard along with us to get the Bloomberg gift to help support our medical students. So now two-thirds of our medical students come to Johns Hopkins tuition free. But that alone wasn't just it. That gift stood alongside and supported by many of you and the gifts that you've provided over many, many years. And it will not continue to sustain. It was never meant to do that. It was meant for us to continue to be able to sustain the philanthropy from our alumni association and others to help with this real burden that medical education lays on students today. So I'll just continue to advocate on all of you to continue to think about the students, and please give as you see you can do so. But that has been a major lift for us because it's bringing students to us today who always wanted to come, but perhaps were limited because of the smaller packages we could provide, and we're going to other institutions, that other H institution that's somewhere north of us, somewhere in Boston. But that's not happening anymore. So while the decisions we have coming forward, the decisions we're making are challenging, and they're going to continue to be for the foreseeable future, we will continue to do those things I talked about. We're going to set the gold standard, as we always have, in discovery and in clinical care, and who it is we train and bring into our programs. As I keep telling our team, this is the moment to be Johns Hopkins. We were built for this time. This is a place of superior intelligence, people who are supremely dedicated to the who and what we are, and it's a very scrappy institution. And I think those things together, when we lock arms, are going to allow us to maneuver the difficult waters ahead, which they will be difficult, but we'll be able to do it, I think, and come out the other side, I think, in a very good, strong place, because our heads will be up and taking advantages of the things that perhaps others won't be seeing at that time. So you don't want to hear from me any longer. You're really here to hear Bert Vogelstein. But let me just share the last thing. And I shared this with the medical students was it last week? Was graduation already? Last week. Just to reinforce a couple points for them, because I thought, they're coming into an environment that seems unsteady, perhaps. I just reminded them that, right, society still needs Johns Hopkins. Don't fear for that. I'm in Washington, and when you're in behind those closed doors with a congressman or a senator, it's very clear. They say, look, when my family's sick, I'm only coming to Johns Hopkins. They trust and need our care. And that's not hyperbole. Those are actual words given to me. That when there's a new discovery that might be out there, or they need an idea or a perspective on new science, they're often coming to Johns Hopkins to vet that, to understand it, to explore that. When there are grad students who are ready to graduate and people need new postdocs, perhaps new faculty out of our residency programs, where do they come? Yeah, to Johns Hopkins. So I think the stability of our programs and the reputation that all of you helped to build for us over many, 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 many decades is holding us in good stead today. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to my dear colleague and friend, Roy Vogelstein, who's the Vice Dean for Education. And at this moment, I want to say thank you, Roy, for all you've done for us for all these years. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Roy Vogelstein.
Thanks so much, Ted. Welcome, everyone here. I'm just going to give you just a little bit of a sense of what today's medical students are going through, what it's like, what the experience is like, and then I'm going to do what you really want me to do, which is to introduce Dr. Vogelstein. I have an hour and a half long bio that I'm going to share with you. So, you know, remember that these students pretty much that are in medical school today, most of them went to college during the pandemic, and that was a time that was very disruptive to their education. Some maybe didn't have graduation and so forth, and I would say that that has really depleted a lot of their resilience, and now they're going through something, as Ted said, it's a very difficult and challenging time, and yet I think all of you know that tumultuous times are not new in American history, and many of you during your training went through tumultuous times and emerged incredibly strong, and I think our students are like that. Ted alluded to the 50th year anniversary of the MSTP, and just before this seminar here, or this hour here, we had the beginning of the 50th celebration of the MSTP, and if you could have heard these students talking about their experience right now, it would absolutely, I guarantee you, have reminded you of your own experience. I guarantee you. One student, for example, talked about having an interaction after class, actually multiple interactions with Bob Silicano. She said she thought she was probably being a pain to him because she kept asking him questions, and the answers that he gave and the curiosity that he stimulated completely turned her on to a career in immunology. So even though these are tumultuous times, our students are still very similar to you when you were a student. I just want to focus a little bit about some of the things that might be a little bit different from your experience. So we offer our students an extraordinary amount of academic support. It's not that you didn't have academic support when you were a student. I think I had some when I was a medical student, but they have this extraordinary, beautiful study space here in the Armstrong building. It's now around 15 years old, but it's still state of the art. In fact, it's been emulated at a lot of medical schools around the country. We have absolutely state-of-the-art electronic resources through the library. Obviously, we have a beautiful building, but it's the electronic resources that are most relevant to our students. We have an entire program that's called the College's Advisory Program, which is focused on really developing a learning community for our medical students. Carol Zeminski there was, for many years, one of our CAP advisors, College Advisory Program advisors. We have a phenomenal Office of Medical Student Affairs. I had very little when I was, I think I met with my Dean of Student Affairs once during my 4 years. They meet very frequently with them. They really help them with residency applications, with going through the match, with mock interviews. You know, all interviews now for residency pretty much are remote. They're all by Zoom. I mean, it's a very different landscape. And so we have to prepare our students for how do you interview and present yourself on Zoom. Many of you probably learned procedures when you were a medical student or maybe a resident on patients. I learned as a cardiology fellow, I'm sorry, Mike Weisfeld, to tell you this, but I learned to cath a patient on the couch on CMSE 6 by threading a needle into the upholstery. We actually have one of the best simulation centers in the country, and our students learn on plastic before they actually touch a patient. They learn with standardized patients. They learn sensitive examinations like the genitourinary examination on standardized patients. It's a very different way of learning, and I should tell you that 100% of our students do research during their training. We really focus on student wellness. We just a few weeks ago, we had our second annual Hopkins Evening of the Arts right here in the Armstrong building, where our students displayed their paintings, photography, ceramics, and so forth. We have something called Imperfect Rounds that was started by our Director of Student Wellness, Kathy Chrétien, where people will share stories about medical mistakes that they made so that the students actually hear from faculty on how they actually worked through mistakes and still survived emotionally and so forth. We have a Peloton here in the Armstrong building, in addition to all the gym services that Dr. King helped to provide, since the Cooley Center has also gone the way of Reed Hall. We have a phenomenal curriculum across the board. I was talking to Dr. Weinberg last night and just today. Across the board in the United States, lectures are sort of a thing of the past. They're now usually in small aliquots that are recorded, and then there's in-person, really higher level learning here in the classroom, in small group learnings up on the second and third floor, which you can take a look at. For me, it's much better, I think. Actually, I enjoy teaching more in the small groups. And then we have new sort of topics that you didn't learn about, like planetary health, climate change, for example, healthcare financing, insurance. I didn't learn anything about that. Firearm injury prevention. I didn't learn anything about that either. This thing called artificial intelligence. It didn't exist when I was a medical student. In fact, some people would say intelligence didn't exist when I was a medical student, at least on mine. Nutrition. I learned nothing about nutrition in medical school. We teach our students nutrition because it's so important. Patient safety and so forth. And then just some stats that'll show you how our students do. 100% of our students last year matched. That's pretty typical, usually 99 to 100% match. Very successful, very competitive programs. 18 of our students matched in medicine. It's still the #1 place for our students to go, but other top programs were anesthesiology, surgery, obstetrics, gynecology, ophthalmology, pediatrics, and psychiatry. Those are our top programs in terms of destination for students. About 30% of the class actually matched here at Hopkins. That's pretty typical. Other programs, UCSF, Cornell, Brigham, MGH, Stanford, and so forth, really great programs. Our students do very well in the match and are very successful. And I just want to close by saying, before I introduce Dr. Vogelstein, that as Ted said, we were and are thrilled with the Bloomberg gift, absolutely thrilled. It was transformative for the school. But I don't want you to think that your support is not needed. It's very much needed. Without your support, all the financial modeling of the Bloomberg gift goes away. We really need that. And I'll just close by telling you a story that happened. I think I told it the other day to some of you. We had a student, April 30th, the applicants need to let us know where they're going to decide to come. We had a student that was incredibly highly ranked here that we offered admission to. And on April 30th, she told us that she wanted to go to Hopkins, but she couldn't select Hopkins because this other school to the north that also begins with an H, it ends in Harvard, that they offered her more money. Now, you might say, how could that possibly be that they offered her more money when we have the Bloomberg gift? It's because as Ted said, 2/3 will go tuition free. That means 1/3 don't go tuition free. And, if you're above a certain income bracket, you may need more help than we can give. So she decided to go to Harvard. She withdrew from Johns Hopkins, her offer of admission. And then about 8 days ago, when Harvard was, and always is, in the news, she actually called us and said, I've been advised to withdraw from Harvard, and can I have my admission offer back here? I'm just mentioning that to you because, not to focus on Harvard, but to say we still lose students because of money. And that may shock you because you've heard about the Bloomberg gift, but I want to emphasize the importance of your support. So now it's time for me to introduce Dr. Vogelstein, and I'll just say that you all know Bert, I'm sure. He is one of the most legendary scientists in the world. I could probably stop there, but I'm not. one of the most highly cited scientists in the world. I'll give you some statistics. As you know, and as you'll hear, he really has focused on the molecular pathogenesis of cancer. Really landmark discoveries in cancer genes. He's the Clayton Professor of Oncology and Pathology and co-director of the Ludwig Center for Cancer Genetics and Therapeutics at the Kimmel Cancer Center here. He's been a Howard Hughes investigator for 30 years. That's longer than I've been alive. All right, that's not true, but it has been since 1995. He's authored around 600 papers. I have to say, including my favorite, this is true, The Path to Cancer, 3 Strikes and You're Out in the New England Journal. That is a phenomenal explanation of how cancer pathogenesis is. From my perspective, it's the best. His papers have been cited over 430,000 times. Wow. He has been here at Hopkins, except for a brief sojourn to the NCI, for more than 50 years. And he's a member of the National Academy of Sciences, the National Academy of Medicine, the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and a member of all of our hearts, Bert Vogelstein.
Well, thanks, Roy, for those very kind remarks. I was hoping you'd say something nice. I brought my wife. Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, said that as one ages, the most important things become memories, meaningful memories. And I think all of us in this room have very meaningful memories of Hopkins, as well as all of those on the live stream, whether it be patients or med school or residency or mentors. But what I thought I'd do today is string together some of my most meaningful memories in research at Johns Hopkins, and take you through them, what's occurred in the last several decades. So I've strung together these stories and titled it, or coined it, Immunogenic Therapy. So, since I was in medical school and graduated in 1974, there's clearly been a revolution. And the revolution in cancer is, in essence, that cancer is a genetic disease, different from other genetic diseases, but genetic for sure. And there are about 200 cancer driver genes. And now I'm going to take you through a little trip through time. There are 200 cancer driver genes known. Why do I say that? What's the evidence for that? Well, this evidence largely, or at least started with, these 4 papers published between 2006 and 2008 in Science by graduate students Laura Wood and Sean Jones, and postdocs Tobias and Will, who were in our lab at that time. And they established the genomic landscapes of cancer. And I was looking back through their papers in preparation for giving this talk, and was wondering, this was really competitive at the time. There were labs all over the world trying to look at all of the genes in cancers. And this was long before next generation sequencing, so it was very difficult. And I was trying to think, why did these guys succeed? And why, it was actually a few years before anyone else was able to accomplish it. And I look back at the papers, and I realize there's a simple answer. They were crazy, okay? Each one of these patients, to find all of their genes, all 20,000 genes, took 200,000 PCRs, 200,000. And they did about 100 patients, So that's 20 million individual PCRs. That's just unthinkable today. Now, you look at these people, they were smiling, but this was before the 20 million PCRs. But I think it emphasized something that Ted says. Hopkins is very special. And what they discovered, amongst other things, was this gene called IDH1. IDH1 stands for isocitrate dehydrogenase. It is the most boring gene one could imagine. It's involved in Krebs cycle stuff, from biochemistry. That's not exciting, at least to me. No one thought it had any relationship to cancer, but it's exactly the kind of gene that we hoped to discover, something that was not expected. And the group followed that up with another paper in the New England Journal showing that there was a related gene, IDH2, which was mutant in gliomas. And then 14 years later, just last year, there was a paper published in the New England Journal. A company originally called Agios developed an inhibitor of IDH1 and IDH2, and now that is standard of care for a subset of patients with brain tumors. And this is a Kaplan-Meier curve. It really has major effects in this subtype. The other thing that they discovered was, I think, perhaps even more important in a general sense. And in this paper in 2008, they mapped the epitope landscape in breast and colorectal cancers. By this, I mean they looked for neoantigens, mutation-associated neoantigens, MANAs for short, to see if they were present in patients and whether those antigens could bind to the patient's own HLA types. And they found that each patient had roughly 10 or 15 such mutant-associated neoantigens, MANAs, and that was of interest. We tried to develop vaccines against those in mice, dismally failed, so gave it up, but I'll come back to it. And 4 years later, and this is where I'm coming back to it, Suzanne Topalian, who's a surgeon at Hopkins, published this landmark paper, again in the New England Journal, showing that an immune checkpoint inhibitor against PD-1 had simply remarkable effects against certain tumor types. And patients with melanomas and lung cancers responded, but patients with other cancer types did not. Why not? That was the question that she asked, and one of her co-authors on that paper was Drew Pardoe. Now, Drew and Suzanne work very closely together, I would say intimately, because they're married. But Drew was actually the first graduate student that I had the privilege of mentoring back in 1978. So Drew and Suzanne made the long trip from their lab to ours, which is one floor away, and said, hey, do you guys have any genetic insights into why only patients with melanomas and lung cancers responded, but other patients did not? And coincidentally, we were in the process of writing a review where we looked at all of the mutations that had been discovered in various cancer types since 2006. And on the y-axis is non-synonymous, that is coding mutations that change one amino acid to another. And on the x-axis is all of the various cancer types that had been completely sequenced, all 20,000 genes. And you can see that most cancer types, those are the colon, the breast, the pancreas, you name it, had around 50 mutations, 50 non-synonymous mutations. But there were 3 tumor types that stood out above the rest. And they were lung cancers, 2 different types of lung cancers, and melanomas. And this is perfectly explicable because lung cancers are contributed to by the mutagens and carcinogens in cigarette smoke, and obviously melanomas are contributed to by the mutagens by ultraviolet light. So we thought maybe what was going on was that patients with multiple mutations in their tumors had many more shots on goal to activate an immune response. And what these immune checkpoint inhibitors would do would be to rev up that immune response by releasing the inhibitory mechanisms, and patients with multiple mutations would be more likely to respond to them than patients with an average number of mutations. And that was very stimulating. And we asked at that point, Suzanne, were there any patients whatsoever that responded, other than melanoma patients or lung tumor patients, to an immune checkpoint inhibitor? And she said, well, actually there was one. It wasn't reported in this paper, but it was in an original study that preceded this that Suzanne had done. It was a 54-year-old woman who had a complete response, even though she had an advanced colorectal cancer. And at that point, sort of a eureka went up, a eureka moment in all of us in that room. And we asked Suzanne, did that patient have mismatch repair deficiency in her tumor? And Suzanne said, I don't know, but I'll find out. So a couple weeks later, she found out and had the test done, and the patient did. So this idea was spawned, again, I'm traveling back in time, 1993, when Nick Papadopoulos, now a professor here, but led a group here in conjunction with that of Albert de la Chapelle in Helsinki, that discovered the genetic basis of what is often called Lynch syndrome, or hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer, and that turns out to be due to mutations in mismatch repair genes, which cause a lot of mutations. And in fact, mutations in those tumors with mismatch repair deficiency far outnumber those in lung cancers or melanomas. There are roughly 1,000 mutations per tumor. So that brought up the question of, would patients with mismatch repair deficiency be even more sensitive to immune checkpoint inhibitors than patients with melanoma or lung cancers? And we were super excited about this. We thought this had to be true. So we immediately wrote a letter trying to a journal, let's say it's a prestigious medical journal. I won't name it, but it's based on the northeast part of the United States. And said, hey, maybe we understand why only lung cancer patients and melanoma patients respond, but perhaps mismatch repair deficient patients with those tumors would respond even better. And a few days later, we got a letter back saying, thank you for your submission, but we are a medical journal, and we only publish substantial ideas, not just utter crazy speculation. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. So that didn't deter us. But looking back, I think all of you can think, why? This seems obvious now, right? 2025. But why was this hesitancy to embrace this idea back then? And I think it gets back to human creativity. Humans are not creative in a sense like deities. For example, make Hopkins have a $2 trillion endowment in the next 2 seconds. So they'll be immune from the government cuts. Now, did that work, Ted?
I'll go back immediately and check.
Okay, I don't think it does. So what passes for human creativity is connections. You make connections between two previously unconnected ideas. And here, what Drew and Suzanne and our group were connecting was immunology with cancer genetics. So we didn't mind whether the journal accepted it or not, the idea. What we did mind is that we proposed the idea to various pharmaceutical companies to do a trial with mismatch repair deficient cancer patients. And they gave us basically the same response as this respected medical journal. This wasn't ready for prime time. So we decided, let's perform our own trial at Johns Hopkins. And this is one of a few trials that was actually sponsored by Johns Hopkins, not by industry, which means Hopkins had to be liable for any damages if anyone gets hurt. I mean, this is a big deal. But we were able to do it, and we thought, well, if this idea is right, we shouldn't have to evaluate that many patients to see. So we thought we could afford it with kind of discretionary funds that philanthropists give us. Certainly not ready for an NIH grant. No way. But at any rate, Luis Diaz, who was then in our lab, and Jung Lee, who's an oncologist still here at Hopkins, ran the trial. And this was our third patient. Stephanie Joho, she was diagnosed with colorectal cancer soon after she graduated from college when she was 22. She was treated with successive standard therapies for 2 years, failed. She was scheduled to go into a hospice. And her sister happened to see that we were running this trial at Hopkins and asked if she could be enrolled. And this was 2 days before she was scheduled to enter into the hospice. We found out her tumor was mismatch repair deficient, and she agreed to be enrolled. And this is her 2 years later, standing next to Luis Diaz, who ran the trial, Drew Pardol, and Suzanne Tubalian. And this is her last month when she graduated with a PhD in clinical psychology. So in terms of Viktor Frankl's meaningfulness, it's hard to imagine anything more meaningful than this, not only for the patient and her family, but for all the doctors and nurses and everyone else at Hopkins who helped make this happen. And of course, she wasn't the only one that responded. There was another study we did, published in Science in 2017, which resulted in the approval of immune checkpoint inhibitors. This one's now called Keytruda by the FDA. And according to the FDA, that approval marks a new paradigm in the development of cancer drugs that are tissue agnostic. All previous cancer drugs had been approved for the treatment of patients, say, with breast cancer or colon cancer, but for a specific cancer. This was the first approval for a drug not based on cancer type, but simply based on the genetics, the genetic alterations within the tumors. So that was kind of a paradigm shift and was very rewarding. And it turns out that about 1 in 16 cancer patients overall have mismatch repair deficiency in their tumors and therefore are amenable to treatment with these agents. Now, I'll finish with another story related to immunogenetics. Immune checkpoint inhibitors are passive kinds of immunotherapeutic agents. They rely on the host's response to exert their effect, similar to vaccines. Other immunotherapeutic agents that have been used for infectious diseases, etc., and now for cancer are active. They directly target the cancer cells. And one of them, which I'll talk about, is CAR T cells. Another one, which you're all familiar with, is Herceptin, which targets the RB2 amplification in breast cancers. So we began this work in 2014, recognized that there were about 200 cancer driver genes. By driver genes, I mean the ones that actually contribute to cancer, that make them grow, the 1% of the total genes that do this. And we wondered whether we could make immune reagents specifically designed to recognize the antigens, the mutation-associated neoantigens among these cancer driver genes. The problem was that nearly all of them, these genes, the proteins that they code for are expressed inside the cell. They are not available for recognition on the outside of cells, so they're invisible to the immune system. But a solution to that, again, is these MANAs, mutation-associated neoantigens, because these proteins, like all proteins in a cell, are degraded to small peptides, and they bind to HLA, and other human histocompatibility gene proteins, and are exported to the cell surface to be potentially recognized by immune reagents. So we set out to develop manabodies, which are antibodies against these MANAs. And this is the team that has done this over the last 10 years. We call them X-Women. They're not all women, but they are all extraordinary. And I'll go back now, I don't know, 30 years, 1989, several decades, to choose which MANA we should target. This work was done by Susie Baker and Janice Nigro, who were students here back then, and they started another revolution, a P53 revolution, with these two papers. They recognized P53 was a tumor suppressor gene, different from what had been believed before, but more importantly, that it was mutated in a lot of cancers. And they showed there were hotspots for these mutations, common mutations at these particular sites. That one marked B with the arrow is codon 175, which was the highest. Now, they couldn't know this then because not all genes in cancers have been sequenced, but if you flash forward about 17 years, this other group showed that P53 is the most commonly mutated gene in human cancers. It's mutated in more than 2/3 of cancers, and the most common mutation is at codon 175, and it complexes with an HLA type called A2, which is the most common in the Western world. So they set out to develop antibodies to this peptide HLA complex between P53R175H, that 10 amino acid peptide, bound to HLA2 and presented on the cell surface. And the two people that led the studies that I'll show you in a second were Jackie Douglas and Emily Hsu. And their results, this represents 6 years of work, was published in Science in 2021, targeting a neoantigen derived from a common P53 mutation. I'll just show you one result from that paper. These are 15 mice. The 5 on that side, whatever it is, right or left, are the ones treated with control antibody, and the other 10 are treated with different doses of the manabody, and they all start with similarly sized tumors. You can see by the blue luminescence signals. Then if you wait 3 weeks, you can see that the tumors, the mice treated with the controls, their tumors have expanded. They're soon going to have to be euthanized, but the tumors, the mice treated with the manabodies did quite well. And in these and subsequent experiments, I can actually cure the mice. Now, flashing back to now again, this is just last month, Clasp Therapeutics licensed this technology from Johns Hopkins and treated their first patient with a P53R175H mutation. I don't know the results of that yet and won't for quite some time, but it only took a couple of years, again, through arrangements that were orchestrated by Johns Hopkins to get this from our lab to the clinic. So in sum, this field, let's call it immunogenetic therapy, really has been largely established at Johns Hopkins. And I think it represents something unique, some of the examples that I've shown you, that not only was the causative, the etiologic basis for the disease discovered at Johns Hopkins, but the way to diagnose that disease was discovered at Johns Hopkins. A strategy to treat patients was developed at Johns Hopkins, and a clinical trial to test that treatment was carried out at Johns Hopkins. Now, what does that illustrate about Johns Hopkins? I think it illustrates what Ted was speaking about initially. It's our culture. This culture is unique, I think, in that it allows basic scientists and clinical scientists and oncologists and rheumatologists who work with us and immunologists, every sort of discipline, to get together without worrying who gets the credit. Our only aim is to try to do something that advances medical care and to helps people. And I think that environment is what makes this place so special. It's what keeps me here and has done so for so many years, and I'm sure what keeps you all so involved with Johns Hopkins. So let me conclude by just acknowledging the other people in our lab who contributed these studies and the companies that have taken the technologies that we've developed and tried to put them into practice. Thank you all for your attention.
Bert, thank you very much. Needless to say, for those of us who've been in the cancer world, research and clinical care, there isn't a more important person in the history of cancer research than Bert Vogelstein.
Thank you.
Period. So Bert, we have time for probably one or two questions if people have them. I'll just make a comment. So Bert talked, this whole thing was about memories. So I finished my chief resident year. I then went into the lab, and it was my second year in the lab. And Bert had written some of those papers already. It was 93, some of the early mismatch repair stuff. So this was about 94 maybe. And I had some notions about DNA mismatch repair, oxidative injury. So I put these data together. It took, I don't know, I worked on it probably 18 months. Got a draft manuscript together, dropped it, thought, oh my God, I guess I'll go see Dr. Vogelstein. So you agreed to take the manuscript. You said, come back in a couple weeks. And so I came back down. He reviewed it. He had unbelievably great comments. And then finally said, and you know what? This is so interesting. I don't believe any of it. And that says why I do what I do, and he does what he does. But in fact, it really, his comments changed a bit of the thrust of that manuscript, which we did publish in PNAS and did many things after. So Bert, your influence to so many of us has been deep and broad, and you've changed the world.
Thank you.
So any other comments? All right, so we have just one more thing to do. Bert, thank you again.
Sure. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Dean Deweese and Bert. That was a very great presentation, Bert. And it brought to mind, I saw that woman's CAT scan of her abdomen 2 years after she was treated here and when she had no evidence of disease. And it's not terribly surprising she's alive and well now. And I remember I have this patient who has multiple myeloma and had a melanoma, a periorbital melanoma that was very close to his brain. And I thought he was going to die. He was not a candidate for surgery, and he was experiencing diplopia. He was treated at MSK with immunotherapy. and that was 8 years ago, and I still see him. He has no evidence of disease. So these are groundbreaking. I think the challenge is extending them to all different types of cancers and how we can change cancers to be responsive to them. But it's been something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime. So thank you very much. We have a special moment we'd like to share and recognize an individual who has dedicated many years of exceptional service to the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine as Vice Dean of Education, Dr. Roy Vogelstein. Dr. Vogelstein, your commitment to our students, your innovative approach to medical education, and your unwavering support of the faculty have been truly invaluable. For countless students, you have been a guiding light, a mentor, and an inspiration. You have shaped the very fabric of our educational programs, having an indelible mark on generations of physicians who have walked these halls. We deeply value your wisdom, your dedication, and the profound impact you've had on Johns Hopkins Medicine. To commemorate your remarkable tenure and your enduring legacy, we have a small token of our immense gratitude. Dean DeWeese and I would like to present you with this slate tile. Come on, all right, if you would. And this is a tile from the original dome of the Johns Hopkins Hospital. And it's a thing that I have one, Ted has one, we treasure it. And Roy, thank you for your years of service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes our program.
This is the original. Yeah, in the back. I see it there. Well, thank you. Oh, great. Thanks, Jim. Good surprise.
You're right, it is the Western. And this is the baby.
She has it all. Yep, you're sitting there.
I'm a class of 2005. You actually understand I didn't want to be in lab. You're so good at it. One of my mentors, I was in absence lab.
This is Carol Sapinski. What's up? Oh, no, nothing else. See what I can do. No, you're good. We're just putting the seating signs out.
And so it's interesting. I came to Hopkins and said, oh, well, maybe I'll do MSc, maybe I'll do this. I quickly kind of counseled everybody. And I said, life really, really,
Really?
and then he started and then he said, oh, well, like the next after that, I realized that I probably didn't go to Oncology. I was hoping you were going to say not. Actually, it wasn't yes. Now my
Well, my son, Jacob, you know, my son, Jacob. Jacob
So that
graduated in
subjects
biology.
and you're going to monitor like blood pressure.
He started a company as an investment fund. And that's called Pathology. And basically there okay, good. All right. Okay. Got it. So all of it. You feel like it. Gosh.
I know. Exactly. That's good. Yeah.
So you didn't do
I don't think I threw it away. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good
How
to
are
see
you?
you.
Good to see you as well. This is the fun part.
It is. Hey,
Do we
yes.
rig them this year without the pins? So if you pull in the drapes, they will fall. So you should be good.
Oh my goodness.
I was just checking my font size.
Yes, that is important.
This is key. Good.
And the more time that goes by, the more important it becomes.
Yes. And you and the university are right.
Oh my gosh, Carol.
At the Women's Medical Luncheon, Kelly Gibo, Andrea Cox sort of gave us an update on the MSCP program. Kelly Gibo said her daughter and a dozen of her housemates did science. They were accepted into, a daughter had done internships for NTA, was accepted into a program and was then so all 12 of these young women are looking for jobs. Kelly's daughter has one, thank goodness, with I forget what, but anyway, not science. I mean, it's terrible.
You can't even put really words around it.
No,
really,
no, you can't.
because there isn't a particular endpoint to it. It's about retribution, harm.
Oh, really?
Wait,
I'm shocked. Ay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to everyone who's joined us today. It is a real pleasure to share this moment with you. The awards and portraits ceremony is always a very special time of the calendar year, and I think one of the most important pieces of the portfolio of the weekend. So I really appreciate you all being here. Today, we have the pleasure of recognizing 14 I think very distinguished and appropriate people for a variety of awards that we will run through in a bit. But these 14 people have contributed across a variety of ways in their research, in clinical care, in philanthropy, and then ultimately, as all of them do, their dedication to Johns Hopkins. Many of whom have traveled a distance to get here, so I'm appreciative of that, as are all of my colleagues at Johns Hopkins Medicine. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Peter Baeff, and Peter is the president of the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association, and he'll be helping me to present the School of Medicine's Distinguished Medical Alumni Awards. And then afterwards, we'll have Dr. Christine Hale, member of the Johns Hopkins Association's Alumni Council, who will help present the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association Awards. So Peter, please.
Thank you, Ted. Once again, I'm extremely honored to be able to participate in today's ceremony and welcome you on behalf of the Johns Hopkins Medicine Alumni Association. Today's first award presentations are the Distinguished Medical Alumni Awards, honoring alumni of the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine and the Johns Hopkins Hospital who have demonstrated excellence and achievement during their personal and professional careers. Our first recipient today, unfortunately, cannot be with us, and that's Dr. Katrina Armstrong. Dr. Armstrong exemplifies the highest ideals of a physician, scientist, and leader. Following her training at Hopkins, she has achieved remarkable success as a physician, scientist, educator, and administrator. As chair of medicine at the Massachusetts General Hospital, that other hospital to the north with an H, or with an M, I guess, in it, and subsequently as CEO of Columbia University Irving Medical Center, Dr. Armstrong has demonstrated exceptional leadership, advancing healthcare and championing equity. Her groundbreaking research in healthcare disparities and cancer control, coupled with her numerous awards and memberships in prestigious societies, solidifies her position as a leading figure in academic medicine. Dr. Armstrong's commitment to excellence in research, education, and patient care, combined with her recent service as interim president of Columbia University, which must be almost as trying as being dean of the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, exemplifies the profound impact that Hopkins-trained physicians can have on the world. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, Dr. Armstrong was unable to be with us today, so I will accept the award on her behalf and be sent to her. Our next award recipient is Dr. Chetan Bedagauda. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Dr. Bedagauda is a distinguished member of the Johns Hopkins community, renowned for his exceptional contributions to patient care, research, and education. A highly skilled neurosurgeon, he has received numerous accolades, including the William Baumgartner Physician of the Year Award, and leads the Reza Khatib Brain Tumor Center. Dr. Bedagauda is a prolific researcher, securing major NIH grants and translating groundbreaking discoveries in brain cancer, particularly liquid biopsy approaches in the clinical practice. As a dedicated mentor, he has trained many physician scientists who we had a meeting just before this about their program, fostering the careers of future academic leaders. Throughout his career, Dr. Bedagauda has consistently embodied the core values of Johns Hopkins: compassion, humanism, inclusivity, discovery, advancement, and excellence. Dr. Bedagauda, please come up to receive your award. Dr. LaPrincess Brewer is our next award recipient. Dr. Brewer is a leader in health equity research, academic medicine, and public health, and has significantly advanced cardiovascular disease prevention and equity through her innovative work. As a clinician scientist, she utilizes community-based participatory research, CBPR, to address health inequities, partnering with communities to develop impactful solutions. Notably, her faith program, a culturally tailored mHealth lifestyle and intervention, has improved cardiovascular health in African American communities in Minnesota and serves as a model for community-engaged research. Dr. Brewer's impactful work, coupled with her dedication to health equity and mentorship, makes her a truly deserving recipient of this prestigious award. Our next award is given posthumously to Dr. Richard Heuser. Dr. Heuser's groundbreaking intervention, a novel bypass technique for severe peripheral artery disease, holds the potential to revolutionize the treatment of this debilitating condition. This innovative approach, developed by Dr. Heuser with a small team, involves utilizing the patient's own vein to bypass severely diseased arteries in the leg, restoring blood flow to the foot. Rigorous clinical trials demonstrated exceptional safety and efficacy, leading to FDA breakthrough device designation. While Dr. Heuser may not have personally benefited from this transformative invention, his pioneering spirit, cultivated during his interventional training at Hopkins, undoubtedly inspired this life-changing intervention. This remarkable achievement exemplifies the profound impact that Hopkins-trained physicians can have on world health. We're delighted to have Dr. Heuser's wife, Mrs. Heuser, with us today. Would you please come up to receive the award? Our next award recipient is Dr. J. Brooks Jackson. Dr. Jackson, a distinguished leader in academic medicine, served as Baxley Professor and Director of the Johns Hopkins Department of Pathology for 13 years. During his tenure, the department achieved a top NIH funding rank, fostered faculty diversity, and secured substantial philanthropic support. An internationally recognized HIV researcher, Dr. Jackson's groundbreaking work focused on diagnostics, prevention, and treatment. His research, particularly within the IMPACT network, led to significant advancements in preventing mother-to-child HIV transmission, saving countless lives. He has published extensively in peer-reviewed journals and is a highly respected mentor in the field. Our next award is given to Dr. Meena Seshamani. Dr. Seshamani has made a profound and lasting impact on the lives of millions of Americans. As director of the Center for Medicare, she has driven transformative change, including the landmark Medicare drug price negotiation program and initiatives to improve access to care, address health equity, and combat the opioid crisis. Her leadership in federal health policy, exemplified by her work on the Affordable Care Act and pandemic response programs, demonstrates a deep commitment to public service and a dedication to improving the health and well-being of all Americans. Dr. Seshamani's exceptional career exemplifies the highest ideals of a Johns Hopkins graduate and serves as an inspiration to future generations of physicians and public health leaders. I would like now to welcome Dr. Christine Hale, Johns Hopkins Alumni Association Alumni Council member, to present the next awards. Dr. Hale?
Hello, everyone. It is my great honor to be with you here today. We are truly recognizing some of the most distinguished alumni, not only for the medical community here at Johns Hopkins, but also across the university-wide. I would like to extend to all of you first a warm welcome on behalf of the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association and the Alumni Council. The Johns Hopkins Alumni Association represents all 9 schools, soon to be 10, for the entire university, and I feel very fortunate to be one of the 2 representatives from the School of Medicine that sits on the Alumni Council currently. Each year, the Alumni Association recognizes a select number of distinguished universities from across our whole alumni base, and we recognize them with a Distinguished Alumni Award. But before we get started with the long-awaited awards, I've been asked to give a public service announcement. So our Alumni Association has actually just issued a survey to all university alumni, and I really would like to encourage you to look for that email and hopefully fill it out. Shouldn't take you too long. And the feedback you provide will be invaluable to us as we try to make the alumni experience from Johns Hopkins the most valuable it can be. So please do check for that. Okay, so now on to the awards. Established in 1978, the Distinguished Alumni Award honors those who have typified the Johns Hopkins University tradition of excellence and have brought credit to the university through their personal accomplishment, professional achievement, and/or humanitarian service. Today, we celebrate 3 of these distinguished alumni who are recipients of the award and also alumni from the School of Medicine. And I would like to first start with a recognition. The first awardee has already been mentioned, Dr. Katrina Armstrong. Oh, that's you guys moving that. I thought I bumped something. Dr. Katrina Armstrong, as you heard previously, has had immense contributions, not only to medicine, but also to higher education as a whole. In recognition of this, the Alumni Association is delighted to also recognize her this year with a Distinguished Alumni Award. As she is not able to join us today, I will accept this on her behalf. Okay, this next one I'm so excited about. Dr. Dietz, where are you? So, as a fanatical true crime enthusiast, I have to say I was just giddy. You're my hero. So I am delighted to introduce our second recipient of the Distinguished Alumnus Award, Dr. Park Dietz. Dr. Dietz is a true pioneer in the field of forensic psychiatry, having been lauded over the years as one of the country's most prominent and accomplished forensic psychiatrists, one of the 10 most famous psychiatrists in history, and my favorite, kind of like a rock star coming to town when he testifies. Dr. Dietz's research on paraphilias, criminal behavior, and public safety shaped the fields of psychiatry, law, and violence prevention. He has authored over 100 publications and held several notable appointments, including serving as past president of the American Academy of Psychiatry and Law. He founded Threat Assessment Group, or TAG, with the goal of preventing workplace violence and other targeted threats. His most publicly recognized works, however, are the invaluable insights he has provided in countless criminal cases involving some of the country's most notorious murderers, such as John Hinckley, Jeffrey Dahmer, and Ted Kaczynski. Beyond his clinical and research achievements, Dr. Dietz has demonstrated a commitment to education and mentorship, shaping the next generation of forensic psychiatrists. His work, though often dealing with challenging subjects, reflects a dedication to applying rigorous scientific inquiry to critical societal issues. Recognizing Dr. Park Dietz with a Distinguished Alumnus Award acknowledges his profound and lasting impact across multiple disciplines. Congratulations on your award. So our final recipient of the 2025 Distinguished Alumnus Award is Dr. Hugh Reinhoff. Dr. Reinhoff's pioneering work in genomic medicine, unwavering dedication to understanding rare genetic diseases, and tremendous success as an entrepreneur in the field of biosciences makes him tremendously qualified for this award. After completing his medical degree in internal medicine residency at Hopkins, he went on to train as a fellow in hematology under Dr. Lockhart Conley and in clinical genetics under the one and only Dr. Victor McCusick. His early career days were spent as a scientific investigator and then venture capital investor. By the 1990s, he had gone on to begin one of the earliest consumer genomics firms called DNA Sciences. Over the last 25 years, he has now launched and operated a total of 5 companies in the biosciences space and acted as a founding director and advisor to countless others. It is, however, the tireless pursuit of answers for his own daughter, B's undiagnosed condition that best reflects Dr. Reinhoff's innovative mindset, collaborative spirit, and tenacity in the face of adversity. B presented early in life with a constellation of physical features and challenges for which medicine did not currently have a described diagnosis. So Dr. Reinhoff set about to find the answer himself. When procedural limitations prevented him from utilizing traditional channels, he went so far as to purchase second-hand equipment and sequence her DNA at home. After 9 years of tireless pursuit, he and a team of clinicians and scientists were able to finally report a never-before-seen genetic variant believed to be the cause of B's condition. Dr. Reinhoff's story exemplifies the power of patient-driven research and highlights the profound impact an individual can have on the landscape of medical understanding. His subsequent advocacy for open science and data sharing has significantly contributed to the rare disease research community and offered hope to others facing similar diagnostic odysseys. It is for these reasons that we are proud to honor him this year as a Johns Hopkins Alumni Association Distinguished Alumnus. Unfortunately, Dr. Reinhoff was not able to be here today, so I will accept this award on his behalf. And at this time, I would like to welcome back Dr. Baeff to present the final award.
Thank you. It's now my privilege to present the Asper Award. Dr. Samuel Asper was a 1940 graduate of the School of Medicine who served as Dean of the American University of Beirut School of Medicine in the mid to late 1970s. He established the Samuel P. Asper Award for Achievement in Advancing International Medical Education in 1996. The award recognizes members of the Johns Hopkins Medicine Alumni Association who, after training at Johns Hopkins, return to their home countries to make significant impact on the health and education of their fellow citizens. Past recipients have represented Panama, China, Mexico, Iran, Europe, as well as the United States. This year's recipient is Dr. Timothy R.B. Johnson, who unfortunately is no longer with us. Dr. Johnson's decades of pioneering work in maternal fetal medicine and his unwavering commitment to women's health earned him this award. His groundbreaking research in preterm birth prevention and high-risk pregnancies has significantly improved outcome for countless numbers of people. Dr. Johnson's leadership in establishing innovative clinical programs and his dedication to training the next generation of specialists have had a profound and lasting impact on the field. Beyond his clinical and research achievements, Dr. Johnson has been a tireless advocate for equitable access to quality health care for all women. His compassionate approach to patient care and his dedication to addressing health disparities have earned him the respect and admiration of colleagues and patients alike. His remarkable contributions to maternal-fetal medicine and his enduring contributions to advancing women's health on a global scale are unparalleled. Unfortunately, as previously mentioned, he recently passed away. His son, Dr. Clark Johnson, is with us to accept the award on his behalf. Would you please come to accept the award? It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Carol Zeminski to the podium to present the Johns Hopkins Women's Medical Alumni Association Hall of Fame inductees.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm actually delighted to be here this afternoon. I'm going to prop this up here so some of you can see it. This is, thank you. These come in very handy for a variety of reasons.
It's the only thing I can do.
I'm not sure what's going on. I'm going to just, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So the Johns Hopkins Women's Medical Alumni Association Hall of Fame was established in 1993 to honor women who have made significant contributions to our community here at Johns Hopkins and to the larger world of medicine. The Hall of Fame recognizes women who have preceded us and women who have worked with us. It endeavors to bring to life the energy, enthusiasm, and passion of those individuals so that generations to come will have insight into the wide variety of accomplishments achieved by women in medicine at Johns Hopkins. I should mention that Katrina Armstrong, about whom you've heard a couple times today, was in fact one of our Hall of Fame honorees a few years ago. Also very well deserved. We are delighted that this year's honoree is Dr. Diane E. Griffin. In the interest of time, I can only share with you highlights of the full citation which Dr. Deweese is holding here in front of you. And this citation will join those of earlier honorees, which are on display in the Mary Elizabeth Garrett Room, Halsted 106, for those of you who managed to get over there. Dr. Griffin's groundbreaking contributions to virology and her exceptional leadership within the scientific community make her a worthy inductee into our Hall of Fame. Her pioneering research on viral pathogenesis, particularly her seminal work on measles encephalitis, has significantly advanced our understanding of viral diseases and their impact on the nervous system. Her impact at Hopkins was meaningful across a broad spectrum: leadership and creativity in science and in the programs she created, her gifts as a teacher and mentor, her wisdom as a counselor to so many, and certainly the example she set as a kind, enthusiastic, and energetic woman of our community. I invite Diane's son, Todd Griffin, who is here with us this afternoon, to come up and accept a copy that we have for the family of this award. And I think that's the end of our presentations. Thank you so much, Dave.
Oh, you're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, can we get one more round of applause for all our award winners and honorees? The portrait collection of the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, as well as the Johns Hopkins Hospital, was put into place many decades ago to honor those faculty members, students in some cases, administrators, philanthropists, and other notable individuals who've contributed to the life and well-being of the School of Medicine as well as the hospital. The institution's collection is now over 300 such portraits, honoring the individuals I've designated for the life and real deep contributions they've given to the institution. Before we proceed with today, I would like to, and I'm not sure where they are, but I wanted to note two of the most important artists that have managed to portray most of us in better lights than we deserve, and two outstanding friends of Johns Hopkins, Peter and, oh, they're there, Peter and Lisa Egley. Peter, Lisa. Thanks for all you, both of you have done in helping our collection be a truly world-class collection. Thank you all very, very much. Okay, so I am delighted to ask Dr. Chethan Betty Gowda back to the podium for the presentation of our first portrait. Dr. Betty Gowda.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a tremendous honor to be here celebrating such excellence, and in that light, my distinct privilege to be able to recognize Dr. Henry Brem, who epitomizes the very best of neurosurgery. Before I speak to Dr. Brem's tremendous contributions, we'll take a moment to welcome his wife, Dr. Rachel Brem, Sarah Sunshine, Joel Sunshine, who are graduates of the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. So welcome and thank you. Dr. Brem began his illustrious career as an undergraduate student at NYU, went on to complete his medical school at Harvard University. While just being a medical student, he worked with Judah Folkman, one of the greatest surgeon scientists of our time. In his work with Dr. Folkman, Dr. Brem identified one of the first contributors to angiogenesis while studying rabbit corneas. Those scientific contributions continued, and we were fortunate to recruit Dr. Brem after he completed his residency at the Columbia University Neurological Surgical Department. In 1984, Dr. Brem began his tenure here at Johns Hopkins as an assistant professor and quickly rose through the ranks. One of his first and most deeply meaningful contributions was to reestablish the Hunterian Laboratory, a laboratory that epitomizes the idea of a surgeon investigator that was started initially by Dean Welch, William Halstead, and continued by Harvey Cushing, but reestablished in 1984 by Dr. Brem. His career as a surgeon investigator is unparalleled. He created the first framework for using intraoperative neuronavigation, a tool we still use today in the operating room. The first approved therapy for glioblastoma, a lethal form of brain cancer that the FDA approved in 23 years at that time, still a part of standard of care. In addition to his tremendous acumen and clinical contributions coming from the laboratory, Dr. Brem has been a dedicated mentor, having guided over 105 neurosurgical residents, over 500 research trainees, in addition to enabling 22 chair of the department to come from his lineage. Dr. Brem's research has been prolific, 400 research papers, over 100 on his H-index, 47,000 citations. He's received numerous teaching and other awards, both locally and nationally, but really the contributions of excellence, establishing that for the field of neurosurgery, both at Johns Hopkins and large, remain unparalleled. Dr. Brem has been director of the neurosurgery department for the last 25 years, only recently stepping down 2 weeks ago. It's a tremendous honor to welcome Dr. Brem to receive this tremendous recognition.
Thank you, Clayton. Congratulations again, Henry. Next, I'd like to call Dr. Hal Dietz to the podium for our next portrait unveiling. Hal.
Master surgeon, generous mentor, brilliant scholar, compassionate clinician, humble, kind, elegant, erudite, pleasantly eccentric. While many of us strive to achieve a few of these qualities, Duke Cameron quite remarkably embodies all of them. It has been my privilege to have Duke as a colleague and friend for over 30 years, and it is a true honor to introduce him today. Duke graduated from Harvard and completed medical school at Yale, where he remained for general surgical training. In 1983, he was awarded the coveted position of thoracic surgery resident at Johns Hopkins, notably the first to be recruited to this position from an outside institution. Duke rapidly rose through the ranks, serving as director of pediatric cardiothoracic surgery and subsequently the James T. Drescher Professor of Surgery, chief of the Division of Cardiothoracic Surgery, cardiac surgeon in charge, and director of the Brockley Center for Aortic Disease at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. Duke's surgical skills are legendary, one of a handful of cardiothoracic surgeons that is equally comfortable and proficient at performing a complex Norwood procedure for a 2-kilogram infant in the morning and a third revision of an aortic arch repair in a fragile 80-year-old in the afternoon. While his contributions to the field are too numerous to recount, his significance to the discipline of aortic reconstruction is impossible to overstate. Building on the work of his mentor, Vincent Gott, Duke refined, simplified, and ultimately perfected valve-sparing aortic replacement procedures for patients with a variety of presentations of aortic root aneurysm. In 2009, Duke and his team reported outcomes for 372 root surgeries, the largest series of patients worldwide by far, with a remarkable hospital mortality of 0. What makes this even more astounding is that the population was restricted to individuals with syndromic vascular connective tissue disorders such as Marfan syndrome or Loeys-Dietz syndrome, with both complex anatomy and fragile tissue. The extraordinary success established at Hopkins as this extraordinary success established Hopkins as the destination of choice for these desperate patients, a status that continues to this day. Duke has shared his knowledge and skill worldwide through publications, teaching, and international clinics to directly serve the neediest patients. His trainees are both numerous and accomplished, among them his disciple Luca Vicella, who has, in my opinion, emerged as the preeminent pediatric aortopathy surgeon. Duke's accomplishments were recognized by election as president of the American Association for Thoracic Surgery, the highest honor in his field. Despite all of these accomplishments, Duke has maintained his kind, modest, and congenial demeanor. In a field where a sense of bravado and omnipotence is both common and confers risk, modesty is restricted to true giants. Please join me in welcoming one of them to the stage for presentation of his portrait, Dr. Duke Edward Cameron.
Congratulations, Duke, very much. Next, I'd like to call Dr. Alexander Hillel to the podium to present our next portrait. Alex.
Good afternoon. It is a privilege to honor Dr. David Isley. Dr. Isley is here with his wife, Janice, and his children, Lauren and Marielle. Dave graduated from Dartmouth College, followed by Cornell University Medical College, and then went out west to the University of Washington for residency training. Dr. Mike Johns recruited Dave here to the faculty in 1988, where he rose to become a professor and division director of head and neck surgical oncology. As faculty here, Dave stood out as a surgical educator whose high standards of clinical excellence and team building really raised the level of care for otolaryngology patients and head and neck cancer patients especially. Further, Dave's innovative research with tongue stimulation during sleep and separately with intraoperative nerve monitoring directly led to commercially available devices that are transforming the lives of patients with sleep apnea and the tens of thousands who have thyroid and parathyroid surgery every year. Dave's collaboration with Flip Smith and Alan Schwartz in sleep medicine demonstrated you could alternate airflow dynamics by placing an electrode into the tongue without arousal from sleep. Their work in the Hopkins Sleep Lab over 30 years ago directly led to the hypoglossal nerve stimulator that we see advertised everywhere today. Dave was also instrumental in demonstrating the recurrent laryngeal nerve could be monitored intraoperatively with a specialized endotracheal tube during thyroid surgery. Laryngeal nerve monitoring has become the norm, which has greatly reduced nerve injury and voice loss. Within the clinical realm, Dave brought together a multidisciplinary comprehensive care team for patients with head and neck cancer. That included medical and radiation oncologists, head and neck surgical oncologists, pathologists, radiologists, and speech-language pathologists into a cohesive group that raised care delivery through a multidisciplinary head and neck cancer clinic, which led to multiple clinical trials, and also a model weekly tumor board that our trainees and students rate as one of their most valuable learning experiences. In 2001, Dr. Isley joined the faculty at the University of California, San Francisco to become their chairman of the Department of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery. And 13 years later, Dave was given the opportunity to come back and lead our department, where he began his faculty career and was thrilled to return to Baltimore. Dr. Isley's distinguished career includes service as a past president of the American Board of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery, and president of the American Head and Neck Society. Before inviting Dave up for the unveiling of his portrait by Lisa Eggley, I want to share a few words from my perspective as a faculty member joining our department 13 years ago. I had the usual pressures and stumbles of a young surgeon starting out, building a practice and figuring out my way here at Hopkins. Dave promoted an environment of clinical excellence, and as importantly, encouraged us each to deeply explore and develop an academic niche. That safe space that Dave created allowed us each to reach our promise. And it was so critical to our faculty making a difference for our patients, impacting the field of otolaryngology more broadly, and developing so many leaders here at Johns Hopkins Medicine. Dave?
Dave, congratulations to you. Our final portrait will be unveiled after a few words from Dr. Sarah Amann. Sarah, please. Thank you.
Good evening. I am deeply honored and deeply humbled to introduce my mentor, my colleague, and a dear friend, Ken Pienta. Ken is a visionary scientist, a compassionate physician, and a dedicated mentor, and I can think of no one more deserving of this honor. He graduated from Johns Hopkins with his bachelor's degree in 1983 and a medical degree in 1986 and returned for his fellowship in 1988. He shared that his life changed in med school after meeting the chief, Don Coffey, who was to become his lifelong mentor, when he learned that he could contribute to the fundamental discoveries that could transform patient care. Ken has made this his life's work. After 20 years at the University of Michigan, where he held numerous leadership positions and led an active research program, he returned here to his scientific home in 2013 to serve as Director of Research at the Brady Urological Institute. He now holds the Donald S. Coffey Professorship in Urology and is also Professor of Oncology, Pharmacology and Molecular Sciences, and Chemical and Biomedical Engineering. He's an American Cancer Society research professor and was an inaugural recipient of the American Association for Cancer Research's Team Science Award, among many other awards, far too numerous to mention, for excellence in research and in mentoring. As a medical oncologist, he cares for men with metastatic prostate cancer with deep compassion, commitment, and humility. As a clinical colleague, he maintains our true north, the holder of why we do what we do for the humans on the other side of the bench. A visionary leader in the field of prostate cancer research, Ken has had and continues to have a highly productive and truly impactful research career focused on understanding the mechanisms of prostate cancer metastasis and lethality, and to improve the diagnosis and treatment of prostate cancer. As evidence of this, he's been continuously funded by the NIH for over 30 years, and he holds many grants from the Prostate Cancer Foundation as well as other granting institutions. Ken is a champion for truly interdisciplinary science and counts among his colleagues not only those within the biomedical sciences, but also those from evolutionary ecology, from physics, from mathematical oncology, and from geochemistry. And through these collaborations, he has led and been a part of some of the most impactful projects that have shaped our field over the last 3 decades. These include initiating the first rapid autopsy program of its kind to enable the molecular study of widely disseminated metastatic prostate cancer, contributing to the development of PSMA imaging in prostate cancer patients, not only improving diagnostics, but challenging current paradigms for understanding metastatic spread, and applying ecologic theories to understand cancer progression, metastasis, and therapy resistance, thus establishing a new field in cancer biology, cancer ecology, that continues to drive research discovery. Look to his publication record, with more than 600 publications and nearly 100,000 citations, to see the depth and breadth of his research contributions, spanning from theoretical modeling to basic science to clinical trials. Ken, wouldn't the chief be proud? Finally, one of the roles Ken says is his most important is that of mentorship. And as evidence of this, his entire lab is here in the back. A team of graduate students and postdoctoral fellows and staff scientists who are learning from Ken every day to learn to push our scientific enterprise forward. He has mentored dozens of trainees, including me, to successful careers in science and medicine. And of course, in addition to teaching the craft of science, Ken does so much more for us and for the whole community. He inspires, he challenges. He shows that it's important to ask big questions and to approach science and medicine with creativity, with humility, and with a sense of humor. While Ken's tenure as Director of Research at the Brady has come to a close, he continues to serve the university as Special Advisor to the Provost and our Department of Urology as Director of Innovation and Strategy. And of course, he continues to drive forward innovative science with our lab, always mission-driven to find the cure for cancer. And so, Ken, charge.
Congratulations, Ken. As Dean of the School of Medicine and CEO of Johns Hopkins Medicine, it gives me great pleasure to accept these 4 portraits into the collection of the School of Medicine. The individuals that you've seen today have contributed greatly to the success we've had today and really have set us up for a very positive future here at Johns Hopkins. So, ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for these four kings. I'd also like to thank all the friends and family and colleagues who've come today. I know it means a lot to our awardees and our portrait recipients. So that will bring us to the conclusion of this particular event. I want to thank you all for coming and wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you.